We should probably jump right into it. Because, don't have a lot of time. We've got an okay amount of time. Yeah. And we actually kind of started. I kind of wanted to get them the started up element. At least for the cannon tops. As well as the alternative barrels. But in the overall grand sense of these vehicles and the things I need to do to them, we're pretty far behind. So, that all being said, we might need to get a little bit more Sigvald Burgundy on to fix a couple things. I bought 2 giant pots of it for like the general general commission, right? Because I had my own Burgundy, so I was like, all right, let me get more, because it's probably not going to be enough. Surprise, surprise. 2 whole pots of Burgundy is basically gone for just these tanks. Because these tanks are ridiculous. On, like, the grandest of ways, they are ridiculous. I think we might finish the Rhino first. I feel like the Rhino is probably going to be the easiest one to just gun through and get it done. And be okay with the results. Let me move this so that I know where to go. Some of them are a bit weird, though. Like, one of these guns doesn't turn the whole way around. Only one. The rest of them are fine. One of them refuses to spin 180. I think it's this one. I don't know what that is. Like, mechanically, they're in the right spot, as far as I can tell. I don't know. Maybe the top was flipped over wrong? No, that couldn't be the case. Dry a little. Let's just get into the gold on the Rhino, because I feel like the Rhino's a one and done. It's the gold, and then we just hit it a little with silver. It's Ooh, that's actually before we go too far. Keep thinking of different steps I can take. Get the Leviathan blue in here so we can darken up the lens. Nah, he's not going to get any knights. He's kind of uninterested in them. Thank God. And honestly, knights aren't that bad. I know enough tricks on how to paint knights that they actually become kind of efficient. Which is sort of the goal. Once you hit an efficiency for the paint jobs that you're applying, that's just the ideal. You're good. Don't need to think about it anymore. I do need him to get in here because I do have a question about the weapons he has on the top of this rhino and whether or not he wants me to glue them. That is the trick with knights. You want them to be really cool, but like I do feel there's a layer of it when you're painting where if you prep work properly with metals and washes, you can be very quick with it. If you have an airbrush and some masking tape, you can also get the armor plates done properly, which is nice. Knights are pretty cool to sub-assemble too. They're not that hard. The attachment points are usually very large and very flat. So you just put down some masking tape and then get the part painted separate and just glue them all together at the end. The only trick is if you're trying to do like a specific OSL or something, you got to make some calls. You're either going to paint the whole thing first and then hit it with the OSL after, or you have to try to like preempt the OSL, which means all the stuff is going to have to be glued together and you're going to have to deal with it. It could be, yeah. Non-metallic metal on a knight is a lot of area. Do you have your process for non-metallic down? That's what really fixes it. My Emperor's Children process is like, it's not like real. Like when you see other people show like their non-metallic, and they're like, look at all the buildup I did and how crazy it was with all these different colors. It's like, that's really cool. My non-metallic for my Emperor's Children is more of like an illusion than an actual non-metallic metallic. Which I do kind of prefer. It makes it look painterly rather than emulation. Which, I mean, that works for Emperor's Children, making them look like a moving painting. It's nice. So I got a 3v2 this weekend with my friends. I sent them my list so we can kind of determine whether it's a good idea. Because I'm not sure. I want to run my knights. I'm running a hound pack. I don't want to run like a big one and be annoying. I just want to run a hound pack. Which I'm realizing why hound pack kind of sucks. Because Hound Pack just provides sustain to knights, but carnivores come with sustain. So, like, the only thing it really technically helps is brigands, and brigands aren't strong enough without, like, the extra AP pip they used to get. Like, you have to take the big knight that gives them AP bonus. Kinda sucks. But hey, there's Uppy Downy. Okay. We'll do the fixing at the end. Problem is there is gapping. I'm seeing the gapping now. I kind of want to get into the gap. Knights are cool, though. Knights are one of the armies where I wish I had the full experience that I gained by the end of painting my knights and putting them together at the beginning. Like, if I could just reset and be like, alright, let's try again. I think that could be really cool. Because I think almost all my knights would have some level of, like, relief sculpture kind of situation, and I would involve like a lot of my stuff too. Like, it wouldn't just be like chaos relief sculpture. It would look like it would be like a depicted battle between like the Votann and the chaos stuff, and like I think it could look really cool. Either that or I would do the ghost frickin' team. I like that idea of just knights that look like ghost ships. Makes them look like they kind of hit and fade in areas, and it's the type of lance you would tell legends about. That they just kind of like show up on a planet's surface, kill all your stuff, and then fade away. Like the internal glow effect. I've seen that on some knights. It looks really nice when they design them to look like they're heating up from the inside. Like they're almost running on an internal excessive amount of heat. Like there's no way a pilot survived it kind of situation. Wish I liked playing knights more. They're okay sometimes as like a breather. Because then I'd have like way cooler models, way more of a focus. No, yeah, blue or green coming from the inside could be really cool. Or like a magenta. That'd be really cool. They're weird to play. I like them, but I think the biggest issue I have with them is the area I live in. The fact that there's so many hyper competitive players in this area. Because when Knights came out, the whole thing about Knights was like, oh, they're the big bad monster. They've got all these stats. You have to reassess the entire meta for the potential of a Knight showing up kind of situation. Which you think would be enough for someone to play like an anti-meta army where they assume the opponent is like leaning into some things that could kill Knights. And therefore you go stuff that overwhelms everything else. Like, you'd think that would work out, but it doesn't. it doesn't seem to be how it worked out. Like, people just bring like 2 las cannons to a game, and next thing you know, like, the Knight players just don't win. Most of the time, at least. And since my area is so hyper competitive, if I bring a Knights list that isn't like pure meta, I have 0 chance of winning. Like, absolutely 0 chance of winning. People are just too good with their lists, man. No, yeah, they're difficult. It's like you're playing a different game when you play Knights. Like, everyone's still playing 40k, and you're kind of just playing, like... You're playing, I'm going to roll these 5 dice, and if they don't roll decent, we might as well stop. But you have so much redundancy in those rolls that it's like, they'll most likely roll decent. Like, you don't have to worry too much about that. But, like, the ways they nerf the Knights to try to, like, keep them in line so that they're not way overpowered is always so weird. Like the Hound Pack. The Hound Pack I want to play, I want to run 3 carnivores in it, but because the bonus for Hound Pack is to mark a target to give sustain to things shooting it that can see it, so, you know, you can't sustain your Havoc missile launchers. I don't know, man. Like, the fact that the carnivores all have built-in sustain and they are, like, the best option out of all the hounds to take because they're just decently strong with a lot of potential. It's like the weirdest way to nerf an army, by giving everyone a cool bonus except the unit that actually matters. Granted, there's a command point play where you crit on 5s. I need to look at it again, because it might only be for shooting. If it's for melee as well, that's sick nasty. Shooting phase, or actually fighting phase. Yep, fighting phase. Crit hits on 5s. That is actually brutal. So shooting phase, you can do it once, and then in fighting phase, you can do it once. So you can mark a target for sustained, and then hit it with all your brigands and frickin' executioner. You probably mark the executioner for crits on 5s. How do we want to do this door? And I get dread abilities. I just can't go through walls. I feel like I got a good list for this 1K, because I'm tying my hands behind my back a little bit. Like, I don't get the whole toe into this area in order to shoot through it. I have to be fully on the pad with like a big base. I'm limited by the terrain. Although, Titanic Character, I need to double check it. I think Titanic Character can shoot and perform actions, so I have 3 units that could do that. I might need to reassess who gets characters on my list. Definitely the Stalkers. This shrine going. Thank God the back of this rhino isn't the full mural. If more of the tank bodies were designed like this rhino, I would have been so much happier. I can't believe this is an army that got 2 general body kit changes for the main like rhino concept, because even in like the Space Marine and Chaos Space Marine concept, I could buy a Space Marine Predator or a Space Marine Rhino or Land Raider, and it like all kind of works. Like maybe you get some spikes here or there and it's all fine. But like, there's no one big component in there that's like, oh, this looks too different. But Sister's got 2 of them. It's crazy. Do you think we'll ever hit another era like the Sisters, when the Sisters got like their full visual aesthetic overhaul? I don't think we will. And honestly, if an army did, I think that army would have to be the Tau. Which means it'll never happen. The Tau have hardcore fans, but those hardcore fans are not awesome enough for Games Workshop to be like, yo, let's redo all these vehicles. Let's give them new flair. Make them look crazier. I wonder if we just take this Rhino to completion before moving on to the Predators. I feel like that might not be a bad idea. What's up, JP Cock? This and then the 2 Predators are the big models, and then that's done. I guess technically we could count Morgan Ball's unit as a big unit. That one's probably going to be a bit difficult. I think I have an idea for it, though. I don't think we're spraying it down burgundy style. We're going to white it like normal armor, and then I'm actually going to physically do the burgundy. So played a game yesterday, felt pretty good about it. But some questions came up that eventually had me looking into like the app to try to find the answers, which had me stumble across some FAQ rules and some writer's notes that completely turned a lot of the 40K rules on my head based on like what I had known and learned by playing at the store with a lot of like the competitive players. I don't know if it changed or if it just verified itself and I wasn't part of the conversation that went like, oh, this is the difference. Okay, let's just move forward from here. Because it wasn't until then that I realized like what was happening. With things like persistent effects and stuff. Like, I kind of wonder when they FAQ'd the persistent effect stuff. If it was like a recent thing with the recent Mutatorium and I just didn't read it. But I'd been running under the assumption that if an attached unit with a buff on it dies, then the thing that was buffed was the attached unit and that was it. The actual units don't get affected by the buff, but apparently that's not the case. So, like, a single unit getting Oath of the Moment that then splits into, like, 5 characters because it died now has, like, 5 Oath of the Moments running around on the field. Actual true. They even clarified, like, mark target to involve the character of the attached unit, or at least one character of the attached unit. So the only way to score a mark target on a attached unit that has like multiple characters in it is to kill the unit and at least one character, is what they say. You need one character to be able to justify the points gains. Yeah, you've been told otherwise as well. Apparently, that's not the case. So there's an FAQ for Oath of the Moment alone that does tell you to look at the persistent effects ruling and then consider that when it comes to the stuff that splits off the squad. Because I was looking up whether or not this all came about because my opponent had a Farseer, a Wraith Conclave, and then Dire Avengers, right? So he had technically had 2 character things attached to a unit. And I had killed the Farseer using precision, and I was wondering if that was enough to make the unit fall apart. So I didn't know. And I was like, let me look this up. Because this is an interesting interaction I don't really involve myself in most of the time. And that's when I looked up and saw the persistent effect concept. That's when I started looking at the FAQs through the Space Marines, which talked about how Oath of the Moment persists onto all the targets that separate from the squad. And I was like, oh my god, this game is so different compared to like what I thought it was. Which is kind of the problem of me deep diving Kill Team, but then like when updates and stuff happens to 40K, I'm more in the mindset of like, oh, other people will tell me. People at the shop will inform me of like cool changes, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I don't even know if they know that that's how it is. Like, that's the crazy part. Because the whole concept of persistent effect as I know it actually came from that store. Because this was when I was starting to use Fulgrim, and I was like, I wonder how that works. And we were sitting around, and one person very confidently was like, well, the poison goes away. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you poisoned the attached unit. It's no longer attached. and therefore it's different units, so the poison goes away. And I was like, oh, that seems logical. Apparently not. Also, I watched John Lennon play finally. Like, actually, I think Art of War had a couple videos with his coterie that came out not that long ago. So I finally got to see how he was playing, and then some of the things he was doing, I was like, like, you have those moments of like, oh, I'm an idiot. So, like, a key thing he does that I don't do is, I mean, he relies a lot on vehicles and rhinos and stuff because, like, yeah, of course. He's, of course, got the 3 demon princes. He's most likely gonna be converting his list over to the new Chaos Space Marine detachment, since that Chaos Space Marine detachment is just better EC. Like, the argument that was put forward of why the EC doesn't have a lot of the Chaos Space Marine vehicles, because they would be too powerful with things like advanced shoot and charge and fallback and all that. And now there's this new list that's like, oh, by the way, all the Chaos Space Marine vehicles now have advanced shoot, charge, fallback. It's like, you assholes. Could have just gave me one Vindicator list, and I would have been fine. Yeah, +1 wound with Rubric Flamers, which was what Ahriman used to do. Then they took that away because they were like, that's pretty strong, guys. Bam, it's back. We back in action. Let me compare this with Leadbelcher. Because if it's close to Leadbelcher, then we're probably fine. Lead's a little bit duller than it still, which is okay. But yeah, what John Lennon does is he starts his rhinos with the infractors in them to give it scout. But every rhino he puts down, he puts a unled squad. I've always wondered why he doesn't have enough cacophonists. He always has 3 noise marines, 2 cacophonists. This is what's mind-blowing about that. Because this is the world of list building matters, right? So, into certain opponents, he will put a cacophonist in each noise marine squad. Into other opponents, he'll leave 1 cacophonist separate because we do not have a really good cheap unit to throw away into mid for like area denial. We don't. If you have, unless you can fit like Chaos Spawn in your army, and then like maybe it'll be fine. So he'll field 2 squads of noise marines, no leaders, on field, and then he'll field 1 off field with the cacophonist. And then the way it works out is you do the rhino, you do the infractors inside the rhino, you put the noise marines around the rhino in a good spot where none of it can be shot. Turn 1, if you get turn 1, you scout the rhino up 6 inches. Your turn starts. You then move the noise marines to the rhino because they move 6 inches. Embark them in the rhino, then move the rhino. So you can slingshot 6 either 6 strength 10 AP, I think 3 damage 3, AP 2 damage 3 attacks across the field, along with an infractor squad that you could at that moment drop out of the tank and run ahead of the vehicle so you can get into melee. Like, it's so crazy. It's like a little thing like that was like, oh my god, why didn't I think about that? Let me get a glove on so I don't keep putting my hand oil all over this paint. So like that kind of blew me away when I saw that. I was like, oh, alright. So I tried it. I actually like Mercurial. I know it's weak, but I like Mercurial. Mercurial is like the not quite any other detachment, but also kind of every other detachment. We get access to sustain, so we don't really get access to lethal, like some other detachments. We get reactive move, which I don't think any other detachment has. We get table edge uppy downy, but only for a single target, which is kind of better than rapid, because rapid evisceration can only do it with vehicles. We can do it with anything, including vehicles, with people inside of them. We get full rerolls of advance rolls, which is nice, so that we can just spam reroll advances all over the board if we need better positioning potential. I mean, it suffers the same issues that all ECs suffer, which is we don't have a lot of damage. I actually do think, until I get my Defiler, like, I think a good Mercurial list needs to run 2, most likely, at least 1, if not 2, Mauler Fiends. Because that's it. That's how we kill big things. It's our best bet. I did some cool stuff, though, with my, my Noise Marine squad that had +1 hit, +1 wound into under half strength units. That thing chewed up a freaking Eldari Knight. Like one of those big Eldari robots. I got it down to half with, or below half with Lucius and his assistants. And then I just walked off the table edge and killed it. Straight obliteration. But yeah, super fun. Super fun finding out all this new stuff where I was like, well, everything I know, kinda gone now. A lot of shifts, a lot of changes, a lot of ways to have to think differently. But that's classic Warhammer. I remember doing that when we were playing in 3rd and 4th and all that. Next thing you know, someone sees a rules interaction and they're like, uh-oh. Something's different. I wonder if I just combine my EC and my Thousand Suns and I try to write a list. For frickin' Chaos Space Marines. I do feel like at some point I should probably have a couple, like, flex Chaos Space Marine things on hand. Because if the alliances still work between the, like, the Pantheons and Undivided, that might be enough of a reason to just be like, oh man, Thousand Suns are really weak right now, but if I take these Thousand Suns and I put them in this detachment for CSM... Because that's why I painted all the vehicles like I did. That's why I painted the Venom Crawlers to look like Thousand Sun Venom Crawlers, even though Venom Crawlers don't exist in Thousand Suns. So they can just all be used. My Vashtor. He's a Thousand Suns Vashtor. They're okay. I don't like where they went. They started really cool. They had a lot of adaptability with the different detachments, and every detachment that I read into, I was like, oh, this is actually viable. And they all were. Straight up, they were all very viable. And then over the course of like 2 months, they made like all but 2 of them no longer viable. Like, no longer properly viable. Which, I mean, that kind of sucks. Because having a full collection like I did and then seeing all those detachments felt so good. It's just like, oh, I could do this, I could do this. Like, that's kind of what I got hit with. And then it all sort of went away when all the nerfs started happening. And then you do the pulse check and find out that, like, Oath of the Moment still does +1 to wound for a lot of armies, and you're just like, man. At some point, you gotta realize that, like, everyone needs, like, a big strength, right? And if that big strength is good enough to give them a chance to win against other people's big strengths, that's awesome. But to start taking away people's big strengths while leaving others... It's like, ugh. Like, just let me get +1 to wound on my friggin' MVBs. Please. That's so good. Give me that +1 to hit, too. That'd be fantastic. Hitting on 2s, mark something for rerolls. Wounding on 2s. With that single attack, big damage output thing. Let's go. Now the only thing I got is hoping that an enemy team can't get through 120 Zangors. That's about it. But yeah, I played I played Hexwarp. I played the Grotmist detachment at this last tournament and went 2-1. Because it is strong. I knew it was strong when the Codex came out, and after all the nerfs occurred, it was still pretty strong. They need to... If one thing needs to occur, alright? If one thing needs to occur in 11th, Battle Shock needs to be adjusted. There needs to be something about it. Either, like, get rid of it and assess something different, like a new mechanic to take its place. Or make it not as crappy. Like, as a Knights player, it feels bad when, like, your winning or losing depends on whether or not a leadership 7 with like a -2 attached to it fails its a leadership check. You're like, ah, that should be easy, and then they roll friggin' 2 7s, or like they roll 2 5s, and you're just like, oh no. And then like you lose your game by like 1 victory point because of it. Yeah, they start with 6-ups, but like with Chaos Knights, you can lower it by 2. Which I know there's a method in NIDS for you to be able to do that too. And to minus it by 2 and be like, haha, you're gonna have a struggle making these 8s, and then they make all 10s, and you're just like, what is even my life, man? And like, they could have maybe expanded it a little bit. Could you imagine not being able to interact with your detachment rule if you're battle shocked? Could you imagine being a Space Marine squad who actually fails a battle shock and is like, man, now I can't use this, I don't get the plus for the Oath of Moment. I don't get to reroll either. This sucks. And it's like, yeah, we did it. A Chaos Knight no longer having its Dread Aura for like the duration of its battle shock. That'd be so cool. Like, you just become a raw stat stick when battle shocked, and that's it. Although that wouldn't work for the current system. You feel like they're testing the waters, because consider all these recent lists that are all based around battle shock. The Night Lords that get all those bonuses, they're basically the better version of Chaos Knights. Then you get the lists that are like, oh, I'm battle shocked. That means I'm better than I normally am. And it's like, whoa. Like, they're definitely experimenting with possibilities that battle shock could change to. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Might Reichland Flesh Shade the top thing. Top thing, side medallions. I feel like that would be best. Bolts, 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 bolts. AOS doesn't have it anymore, right? AOS just got rid of it. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I played AOS, and I'm trying. I don't. Oh, they have a leadership line, I think. Isn't that just related? No, that used to be like the recursion of what dies, right? Yeah, they just got rid of it. So, in competitive games, I get really why people hate it. Because it can make you swing a victory, right? Like, you could swing a victory, you could swing a loss based exclusively off of whether or not a battle shock occurred. It's the equivalent of, like, let's say we were all in, I want to say, like an action fighting game kind of situation, and it was a tournament, and if you won or I won, we would, either one of us would get like $1 million. Like $1 million on the line, you and me were fighting in an action game, right? And this action game has a crit rate built into it. That would feel really shitty for either one of us if we lost because one of us got like slightly more crits than the other, right? Like, that would feel really bad. RNG in competitive games feels really, really bad. If the thing about Warhammer is the statistics are enough, right? Like, the statistical shifts and changes tend to be enough that you don't feel super bad unless you down spike all the time, like I do. Then you just feel horrible. But you like look at a situation and you're like, all right, I have a 80% chance to defeat this squad over here with the current state of like the rolls and, you know, what bonuses and benefits you have and blah, blah, blah. Then you roll it out and yeah, you get it and you're like, all right, cool. And everyone moves on. But then there's that world of like, there's this one big thing that could massively change everything about how you're playing. And if there's like something big on the line for that, which again, Warhammer tries to avoid being like, here's $1 million cash prize for winning this tournament, which is probably for the best. Because, I mean, it is dice rolls. It's just like, it doesn't feel good. And technically, Battle Shock is that feeling. Like, if you and me were playing a really close game, and then I just happened to fail a Battle Shock that I probably shouldn't have failed, and that one failure means I lose, like that feels terrible. Especially if up till that point I've been trying to Battle Shock all your stuff with like actual real Battle Shocky things, and I never could. Like, it just never happens. That's pretty garbage. So, like, we already have the dice. That's already our RNG. Why are we adding an extra layer of potential horror to the RNG? I don't know. Maybe it's not worth. And I get that that's kind of the purpose. I do think they need to retool it. Because technically it wouldn't have to be a Battle Shock for, like, Dante or something. Oh, Rand, now that you're here. Why the hell is this not glued? Do you need this not glued? Do you want me to magnetize it? Because this thing falls apart, like, instantly every time. Like this thing that goes up here. No, it wasn't. there wasn't glue on this, and there wasn't glue in here. Like, I got it, I picked it up, that fell off, and this just fell off of it. Like, it wasn't even really... You might be thinking of any of the other tanks. Like, I know you did this because you were like, if I shoot this, because I think this is a hunter killer, you were like, I'm just gonna pop it off, so I know. I might be able to magnetize it. I posted my list as well. Rules wise, I do get those auras. All the dogs get the same auras as the big guys. I can mark a target to get sustained on any of my guys. My carnivores come with sustain, so that doesn't help them. It mostly helps the brigands, the pods, and the executioner shots, as well as potentially the melt-a-gun on the huntsman. I have a command point ploy where I get crit 5s on hits. I can do that in shooting and fighting. I also have an uppy downy on the table edge. Most of my guys move pretty quick. 10 inch, 12 inch, I think, is on average. I need to double check it, but I think 3 of my war dogs are able to stand on point, do actions, and shoot. Because it's Titanic characters that have that ability, if I'm not mistaken. And in the War Dog list, you give 3 War Dogs character. Which would make them Titanic character. I think. I need to double check. I have 2 brigands, which are scouts. I think they're considered Titanic. They're just not they're not super heavy. So they can't go through walls. Let me double check. Vehicle. Ah, no, they don't have Titanic. Alright, so I just have a bunch of tanks. I mean, you kind of know, Jax, though. It's going to be Terminators. I'm going to be semi-quick skirmish, and I'll be able to set up on the front line and pull out more force than needed. Because, like, Aaron's units and everything, they're great, but he's going to need to over-inundate stalkers on the front line. Especially if there's going to be follow-up clapback from carnivores. I think I'm going to try to plan the carnivore clapback. So my carnivores are going to have to be kind of close. I think they're 14-inch movement normal. Because I want to say that those were the 17-inch movers in Infernal Lance. I also have fall back and shoot. Yeah, we're doing a 3v2. 3K total. 2 guys get the 1,500 points, and we're doing 1,000 each. Which is why I decided to go War Dogs, because you can get like 7 War Dogs for 1,000 points. No problem. You don't get enhancements. None of my stuff has enhancements. I could probably drop a Huntsman for an Executioner and get like a tiny enhancement, but like I don't want to do that. Oh, he did Plague Marines last time. Okay. Is he tinkering with other detachments? Is he starting to see like that his stuff could technically be used in other armies and get like different feelings and effects out of it? Or is he still doing Flyblown? Because I know we watched that one video where the guy showed the advanced way to pile in. Which, by the way, something I was taught by JW, the guy that does a lot of competitive. If we're still talking about fun and annoying things about 40k and like the understanding of its rules, it is, as far as I can say in tournament play, completely cool to move units in your squad that won't be able to make it into combat before the ones that can, which could ostensibly force some units to not be able to make it that you would want, sort of. Like, if you have a front line that's going to make it for the what you rolled, but then the line behind them wouldn't make it, but could get like very close to making it if they were going first. You move the ones from behind first, making it so that there's not enough space between their bases and your target. This is what I don't get though, because the wording is if you can base, you must, which in my opinion sounds like they want you to have to base with the most amount of bases you possibly could for the roll, and not just be like, oh, let me just move weirdly to make it so I can no longer base. But that seems to be the case, is if you can move to no longer base with some models so you can get like more fun flexes into people, you can do it. So just another fun, weird as-is mechanic. I don't know when that FAQ came out that talked about persistent effects. Like that, I feel like that thing came out of nowhere. It still messes with me. Makes Fulgrim a fraction of a percent better. Measuring loan out from the unit you were shooting through, not the model you were using to shoot, or the targeted model. Is that, wait, was that a change? I thought it was per model to model. So if you had two guys who could see the loan op, you could shoot with them, but you couldn't shoot with the rest. Did they just generally change it, or did they finally clarify it? Oh, Jesus. So if the front guy is within 12, everyone works, right? Oh, it's crazy. JW keeps saying I should just play Scintillating Legion. He knows I want to play Scintillating Legion. He knows I'm not going to play, like, the most meta version of it, too, but I'd still play it. Oh, to play Scintillating? I want to, man. Now that the birds are cool, I want to. But part of me does want to play the variant that uses soul grinders. It's not better necessarily than the current version, but I like the idea of it a little more. Because, yeah, the birds hit really hard. But there's something about 2 soul grinders who could one-tap vehicles from a distance and then uppy-downy from combat while also being really good at combat. I love that idea. I love it so much. Keep thinking of, like, alternative timelines where if I had, like, won that tourney at the last too many games because I was actually doing really good, I would have bought that box of War Dogs, and I'd be mostly just playing the War Dog list. Even if it was bad, I'd be rushing people down with like a bajillion War Dogs. I don't even know if you can field a 2K War Dog list. I think you have to take a big night. Like, I think my War Dog list has almost all possible variants of the War Dogs you can take. I think. Are they battle line? I thought they weren't battle line. I remember that being an issue at the tournament because we were using the old rules with the new stuff. Yeah, they're not battle line. We were using the new rules for the knights with the old frickin' approved ops. The one that had all those missions that could only be done by battle line. And I'm just sitting here without battle line. I was like, uh-oh. Where like battle line would get big benefits and I just didn't have any in my list anymore. Oh. I would have bought that freaking War Dog box, got them all painted up. Because I think it's, what, Executioners, Stalkers, Brigands, Huntsmen, Executioner, Stalker, Brigand, Huntsman. What am I missing? Are there only 4? Oh, Carnivores, 5. Executioner, Stalker, Brigand, Huntsman, Carnivore. Which means you can only take 20 War Dogs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 for 1,000. Ah, you could hit. You could hit all War Dogs for 2K. It could be worth taking a big night, though, because they can still get auras. Give them a really nice aura. That might be the Castigator list. Nah, it couldn't be the Castigator list. You just mark things for sustain. There's no reason to give sustain to other stuff. What would you even take in that list? Probably a Despoiler for the extra leadership. Maybe at the next tournament, I'll make a Thousand Suns Tzeentch Demon hybrid list and call it Scintillating at Home. I don't think it would be a bad list, since they finally reworded the shit so that the spells work on demons now. Being able to mark a target for rerolls and then being like, alright, I'm shooting you with birds who have rerolls. It's pretty good. Pip up some extra AP for them, get them to move a bit better. It was pretty psychotic that that wasn't the case, considering the White Dwarf combat patrol for that team did. Like, it had that already built in. Demons can be affected by the psychics. And then they just didn't do it at full scale. Could you imagine getting into the game through like that kind of a combat patrol and being like, oh, this is actually really fun? I definitely want to lean into the demon variant of this list and then just not being able to do half the stuff. It'd be like if you played the Emperor's Children Combat Patrol and thought that the Flawless Blades had a detachment that gave them +1 to damage, which actually makes them very reasonably viable. Surprise! I mean, it's almost as bad as when the Munitorium dropped and they changed the base size for Thousand Sun Sorcerers, only to then change it back after I'd already changed back over. That was a pretty good one. Probably one of my favorites. Sitting at the store talking to people about it, having them justify it in their heads like, well, the sorcerer model already exists and that is its base size, so maybe that was always supposed to be the case. This Rhino's coming along. I did not expect that. Best case scenario, we finish the Rhino. And then maybe do a little bit of the white flatting on both the Predators. I don't know if that's going to be the case, because I do want to get these lenses done properly, which kind of means I have to sort of flat them, hit them with the blue and the purple like I've been doing, ard coat it, and then because it's a Rhino, it has the metallic sort of like cross protectors over top of the lenses, which means I'm going to have to go back in after the ard coat dries with bolt gun metal. Is Aaron trying to... Oh, this was the conversation we were having where I was trying to figure out what the hell size bases he was talking about that he had, and he wasn't quite sure. He said something was wrong. I don't know. I don't play freaking Necron. We got another friend we have to learn the rules for? Please don't tell me yes. Weirdly a fun exercise, though, as a competitive player, to know all the rules for, like, multiple armies that I don't own. Like, I'm looking forward to going into a Black Templar player at this point. And him being like, do I need to describe my rules? And I'm like, what detachment are you? Because I know all of them. Flayed ones are good in general, though. They're just great mechanics units. And if you can keep them alive long enough, when the game starts winding down and there's all these like wounded targets all over the place, they are very scary in combat. We'll get the correctives down eventually. Dude, once you've done enough of this Paisley pattern, you like have a shorthand for getting it done. All right, let's get the gold on these components. It's mostly because the gold that I picked from the Army Painter Speed Paint line is so good at running flat. Like, this is a corrective gold that I would use when I was painting my Thousand Suns, because it, like, on application looks almost as good as an airbrush application of a metallic. But I actually went and picked up the silver variant because the lightest silver variant is very close to Leadbelcher with the same concept of just being very smooth. Wait, what? What? Oh, he wants you to play Stodes. So be like, what the hell? He's not even done his Agrons. So he wants you to play Brick. Jack's gonna play a form of Brick, like Brick Light or Brick Heavy. And then I'm gonna play very quick vehicles. Okay. Dude, that's our team. Our whole team list is just bricked up. When we switch over to Thousand Suns and go Terminators, we can be the Brick. $1,000 points is enough for one big squad and a Demon Prince. We got this. I'll even play Phalanx. Make them more durable than the Hex Warp. Although technically not. Hex Warp giving me benefit of cover for the phase is like discount Armor of Contempt. It's so cool. The thing that makes it great is that it also applies -1 to hit. So you get discount Armor of Contempt and -1 to hit for the phase. Which the DP will provide, but this can be applied to the DPs. Oh, Aaron also said he wouldn't be able to do the TMG tournament because apparently that's the same day as like one of his big kayaking trips that's already planned. Is what it is. Let me get this glued on. Got the Canon S's leg on. I already primed all the stuff you handed me, so that's ready to go. What's up, all-nighter? Jamming out. Welcome back, JP Cut. Who's messaging me? Okay. Do the blue last. Let's do the flats for the parchment, because there's a ton of it on here, actually. I see you all-nighter. Just jamming out. What up, Francois? I feel like the part that makes these rhinos easiest to paint is their lack of torches. Thank God. Probably have to hit these with a second layer. Let them dry a little bit. Just work our way around. white as well on the headlights. You're trying to put a Calidus in? I mean, I get it. But at the same time, I feel like it's a good idea for you to do an 1,000-point custode list for this 3v2. Because, like, you're going to get one thing to do. And if the clapback is biblical enough in your direction, then you can, like, go to other things. And then it's all down on freaking me and Jack to finish out strong. We just got to send the U missile at it. At just the right target. Yeah, Max would have to get a proper over inundation on you from his world leaders. If he's not able to go all in a big way on you, then it's just over. If not, Aaron's gonna have to like toss his whole army into your squad. Because I'm assuming at 1,000 points you're gonna have one squad. And then like a tank. Oh, you're actually trying to field stuff, even if it's like a bunch of 5-man squads. Okay. Has Jack brought up what he's bringing? Is he going to try to... Oh, what the hell? Is he going to try to hammer? Like, I feel like he constantly goes for... Hang on, this gnat. Got it. Jack tries to over-inundate his squads. Jack always tries to over-inundate his squads. Like, he always hammers out. Or anvils out. Never aims for mechanics. Like, at 1,000 points, if he's going to hit us with the Rhino Plague Marine combo, that's going to be, like, most of his army. This is the reason I spec down into dogs. Because, like, I didn't want to bring a castigator. Or a tyrant. And just be obnoxious. You should take the hard turn. Frickin' resurrect your old Grey Knights. And run a 1,000 point frickin' Agents of the Imperium list. Surprise, motherfucker. Ah! It's so hard to balance. It's like weirdly top heavy. Let's get a little bit of the white in there. So I can get those headlamps ready. I was debating, Peacock. I was debating bringing Fulgrim. Because after realizing that his poison persists past attached units dying, I was like, oh, I kind of want to use him now. He's 0.2% better than I normally remember him. Obviously, that means I need to play him. Just run Court of Phoenician so I can make him go through walls whenever the hell I feel like it. Aaron's messaging me. Holy shit. I wonder, I'm guessing Aaron probably sent this to you too. Holy shit. Okay. No, not a list. A response you got. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we got this. Let's do a little bit of metal. Let's get some metal down. Not shining silver, polished silver. I brought Magnus to an 1,000-point game way back. I think I took Magnus and a couple Zangor squads for an 1,000-point test run. The person I played into also brought like Monster Mash Nids for 1,000 with an old One Eye. So it kind of panned out. Yeah, polished silver was a good pickup today. Leadbelcher is very hard to put on these tracks. I might even have to go back to the old tanks and hit it with polished silver speed paint, because then it'll smooth out and actually get into some of the gaps that I was having problems with Leadbelcher. He had old One Eye and a whole thing of Carnifexes, though. Like, he was like leading a thing of Carnifexes. It was crazy. He had a lot of really big monsters. So, like, for 5 turns, I was basically trying to deal with the monsters with Magnus while hoping my Zangor stayed alive long enough to do missions. And spoilers, they didn't. So I ended up having to score with Magnus. That was actually the first tournament I went to, too. I actually took... It was that weird one where it was like 1,300 point army list. I was like, why is it... So I took like a weird Magnus specific list because this was still index. And I took out that Baneblade list that the guy had at the beginning, like right away. But then the issue was there was no terrain on the field. So I was like, dude, whoever goes first in any game is going to win. And I was right. Because I went first that round, killed his Baneblade, and then he had nothing left to deal with anything. Actually, no, I killed all of his other tanks. He had a ton of, like, random tanks on top of the Baneblade. I killed every single one of those. And then his Baneblade didn't have enough shots to kill my Magnus. And then the second list was an Imperial Guard player who was, like, genuinely playing for the win. I think he actually won the whole tournament. he was running all these like kind of cheap Emperor's Children, or he was running cheap Astra Militarum tanks that were covered in plasma cannons, like really cheap plasma cannon tanks. So he just had metric tons of them, and if he went first, like nothing you had lived, because it was just like a hail of plasma cannon shots with take aim. I think I lasted 2 turns into him. He fired everything he had at Magnus, took him down to 3 wounds, and then I had 1 turn to turn it around. I killed like 2 of his tanks, and then everything I had on the field was dead in the following turn. Yeah, this was the first time that they tried to run it. Apparently, because I talked to the guy running it, I was like, dude, what prompted you to choose to not have terrain for a tournament? And he was like, we were told like a half a month before that we were going to be running this tournament, because they had the signups for it through BCP, and the guy that was running it, like half a month went, like he just told them he couldn't make it anymore. Like something came up, he couldn't host it. So they kind of were asked, because they were like a vendor or something there, and they were like, I guess we'll try. So they brought a bunch of tables, no terrain, and we're just like, hopefully this works. I'm not going to paint too much of the bottom, because it's eventually just going to chip apart anyway. Freaking bottom treads. Yeah, 0 terrain. That's how I turned 1 to all the tanks on the one guy's side. Is just because I Magnused and Doom Bolted, and like I just did everything I could. I had a Forge Fiend, I think. I think I had a Forge Fiend. I just hosed all of his tanks except his Baneblade, killed all of his side tanks and all the people he had inside one of the transports. So all he had was a Baneblade to hold like 3 objectives, and then I just ran over to the objectives and held him for 3 turns so he couldn't score anything. And then that guy wiped me out. The third game I played was like really close, because it was Blood Angels, but like old Blood Angels, of course, not like actual Blood Angels. I made a pretty big mistake, though, points-wise, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do strategically, so I charged a unit like an idiot. We were getting close to the end. The guy I was playing wasn't planning on playing that day, but like he was showing up with the group that was running it, and he basically said if it was an uneven number he'd play, so that's why he was playing. But he was actually, in my fight, he was having fun, because we were super close. He was just outmaneuvering me for points, and then I was being dangerous in areas of the map to make him have issues. Picking up some of his mechanics units, and he was like super happy. But then I made one mistake and it was over. I'm still intrigued by the decision they made with Marked for Death. From the notes, the whole thing where if you mark for death a squad with a leader, you have to kill at least 1 leader and the bodyguard to get marked for death now. That was like my one favorite trick with EC was marking a unit with a leader and then just precisioning the leader out. And being like, haha, I did it. Attached unit dead. But now it's got to be all serious. I'm afraid of commitment. Yeah, you gotta go all in. Oh, so he's going heavy on Plague Marines. Rhinos or just Plague Marines? Dude, we're gonna have no room to put anything on our side. Okay, so we have to start talking about what's going in reserve, because holy crap. We're at that point of like 1,500 needs to most likely go into reserve. I think I might have some people who can reroll charge rolls. I can double check that. Those could be okay to put in reserve. Pretty sure the carnivores are the ones that get the rerolls. I could probably put a huntsman in reserve because huntsmen need to specifically hunt vehicles and monsters. If I can't do that, then we're kind of screwed. I mean, you've got Terminators. Those will probably be good to put away. We need some Deep Strike in there. If Jack's Plague Marine Legioning, he might only have, I'm guessing one Squad of Death Shroud. Yeah, you've got the Uppy Downy, so there's at least reason to do that with you. I could leave my Executioner off board, but I don't have to. He can kind of hang near the back and be a backline screen with damage potential output. I would want to put my Stalkers on field, those of Scout. They're going to need to play up. Wolfpack also has reactive move. So if someone tries to come in on us and doesn't have like a ton of distance, I could back off a little bit to be annoying. No, there's no there's no reason why Chaos Knights and Custodes and Death Guard would be fighting Necrons and World Eaters. It's just us dicking around. I mean, you could write the lore if you want. Maybe we're all in, like, the World Eater realm, although Necrons wouldn't be necessarily, I don't think. I don't think they would be. Maybe it's like a Trazen battle. Trazen testing out a bunch of people working side by side to check the variables of different factions actually allying with each other to improve their potentials. To test the limitations of maybe how Necrons can deal with things. Hell yeah. Let's get the medals updated on these things. Make sure I don't miss. Maybe we blacked out the barrels. I'm considering on my pricing chart for commissions to add a "I'll drill your barrels for you" number, and it'll be like $5,000. I don't care if it's one barrel or like 1,000 barrels. It'll be $5,000. You do that shit yourself. Try to be specific about this. God tier liner brush. It's always good to have at least one decent long bristle liner brush. up on it, no problem. Let's work on the lenses, because I'm going to have to wait for the ard coat to dry anyway before hitting it with the silver. Purple down. And we gotta get the blue wherever the hell I put it. I keep setting it down somewhere. And then forgetting. Battleship. Pastel blue. Give that a little bit of time to dry. Let's grab some sepia tone. We'll need Reichland, sepia. Hell yeah. Some Reichland flesh. Might do the blue shade too. Actually, let me check my list as well. So the main one I'm thinking of is Stalkers. No, not Stalkers, Carnivores. Yep, Carnivores can reroll advance and charge. So I'd probably put them in reserve from me. And then maybe a Huntsman. Which would be 300, 450... 590 points. Out of the 1,500 we would need to be able to put away. Or we could put away if we wanted to. I'm going to have an executioner that can send on the back line, 2 stalkers that can scout forward. So if we have infiltrate units or something, they could move up and support them if need be. Or I can just be prepared for frickin' area denial or something. If your witches need support from a stalker, I can send them over. I'll probably want to send 1 to mid. Because even if it's a lot of points, yes, and if it dies to like an onslaught of incoming world leader stuff, that's crappy. But at the same time, I do have a 1 command point reactive move, so if I pull a ton of stuff to mid and then reactive move out, I think that's pretty pog. That might even be the most pog. Pog supreme, as it were. Which is good. That means I have bait units that can go to that direction if we need it. I have table edge uppy downy, so my executioners, anything that I really move to places is probably going to try to sit near table edges and try to support from a distance. Except the carnivores. Carnivores are just going to come in and go. Honestly, the most I'm going to need for command points is probably like 2 or 3 for rapid ingresses. Although that's not exactly necessary. With the built-in charge rerolls, I can just come in turn and hope to bang out a 9 on 2 rolls. So it's like not that big of a deal. So we can just see how it goes. We need to do the lens work here in a second. Ah. It does kind of suck that we're playing 2 stat checklists. But I'm not leaning all in on the stat check for me, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. Alright. I might not be able to finish this before I gotta get moving. Which is fine. We're super close. I might finish it off stream so that we can move on to the 2 big tanks tomorrow. Tomorrow might be weird, though. Because I'm going to have to do something midday, but then my night is pretty open. Get some hard coat down. So I might not stream midday. I might just wait till the afternoon. Maybe. I gotta see what my schedule is on Saturday. See if it's maybe more worth it to still stream in the afternoon so I can go to sleep early. Because I know I have to go be somewhere. Alright, so the hard coat needs to dry. Is there still a little gold in here? There is. Word bearer. Evil Sons. Scarlet highlight. Grab a little actual silver. Get some lenses going. Don't need a lot. I think they're mostly on this missile launcher. You got this lens on the bottom. Two lenses, actually, yeah, two lenses in there. In the front of this thing. I think we'll do my blue technical paint. If I can find it. I think I have the red. Oh, here it is. And then we'll do green, I think, on the one lens as well. I'm gonna let that sit. Grab the Sigvald Burgundy. Go around real quick and check on some stuff to hit it with. some stonework. Let's put the blue here. Yeah. Let's get a little blue here. Do blue on the big lens. I need the green for the bottom lens. Gold fix here. Dark blue. Techless. Oh, it's still wet. We can just kind of stipple it on. Behold. Technically, the very last thing we needed to do. Let's get a little silver on this brush and work super... Okay. Work super hard on only hitting the crossbars here. Hell to the yes. Orange yellow. Ah, too much. Bit of a waste. that. Rhino complete. Barring any general fixes, of course. So double Predators, and then all vehicles that are tracked are done, which is excellent. I am going to take a second look at a lot of the ones I've already done, though, for their treads specifically, because the new silver that I got should help out if they are a little too weird looking. Oh yeah, that is a massive cross-section of this list. Because the people just shouldn't take anywhere near as long as this. Ugh. That being said, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. Oh no, I'm not rushing. I do kind of want to see how it all looks next to each other, though, when it's done. Because that would be sick. Yeah, until next time. Probably tomorrow. Not sure if around midday or late. Actually, let me figure that out right now. I've got a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. 10:30 in the morning. Need to be there by 10. Probably leaving by 9:30. Get back here on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maybe we'll do night. Maybe we'll do night. I think that'll work. So yeah, until then, everyone, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. See you tomorrow if you're around. Later, bitches.